Every year, landlords pay thousands more in tax than they need to, losing money that could have gone towards their next deposit. I used to be an accountant, and after buying 22 properties myself, I've learned the exact legal ways to cut that tax bill down. So in this video, I'm going to show you 5 ways to pay less tax on your first property and keep more of the money you've worked hard for. Let's start with one of the easiest ways to cut your tax bill, and hardly anyone takes advantage of it. Back when I was at uni, one of my mates lived in a house his dad had bought for him. It wasn't anything fancy, just a normal 3-bedroom near campus. But here's the thing, he didn't live there alone. 2 of our other friends were renting rooms from him. And at first, I thought, isn't that a bit dodgy, renting rooms out without the taxman noticing? But his dad explained it properly. It was actually completely legal. Because of something called the rent a room scheme, my friend could rent out those spare rooms completely tax-free, and today you can claim up to £7,500 a year. It's like the government giving you a £7,500 tax-free voucher, but you can only cash it in by renting out your spare room. Now, not every property qualifies. If it's a completely separate flat with its own front door or annex, it might not work. HMRC are strict about that, and it has to feel like it's part of your main home. In my friend's case, it was just spare bedrooms in the same house, bringing in thousands tax-free, while the rest of us were scraping by on student loans. That's rent a room relief, one of the easiest ways for beginners to cut their tax bill. But most people have no idea how to actually use this scheme, so let me show you how it works so you can use it legally. It's pretty straightforward. If you're renting out a furnished room in your main home and the rent is under £7,500 a year, you don't need to do a thing. It's automatically tax-free. No need to fill out any forms or anything. If you go over £7,500, that's when you need to tell HMRC. You do this by registering for self-assessment and filling in the property section. Self-assessment is just the online tax return form. Don't worry, it's pretty straightforward. Or if you've got an accountant, just let them know and they'll sort it. If you're purchasing properties in a limited company, you do the same thing in your company accounts, or again, just let your accountant do it for you. Next, I'm going to show you something clever, and this strategy can cut your tax bill massively if you set it up the right way. So if you and your partner own a property together, HMRC just assumes that the rent gets divided 50-50 no matter what either of you earn. And that can mean you're paying more tax than you should, especially if one of you is in a higher tax band. So how do you actually do this? First, you both need to legally own the property. You can't shift income if it's only in one name. Then you create a declaration of trust, which is a legal document that changes the ownership split, like 80-20 instead of 50-50. A solicitor can usually draft this one up, and it costs around £200 to £500. Once that's done, you file a Form 17 with HMRC within 60 days to make the new split official. From then on, you each declare your share of your rental income on your self-assessment tax return. It's basically like telling HMRC, hey, we don't want to split the rent 50-50. Here's a legal paperwork that proves how we actually split it. From now on, tax us on the 80-20 split instead. Done right, it's one of the most powerful ways couples can legally cut their tax bill, and is approved by HMRC. But it gets better, because there's another strategy that keeps even more money within your family instead of giving it to HMRC. So when I was younger, my dad owned a restaurant and I started working there very early. And like a lot of family businesses back then, everyone was on the payroll, my mom and my brother. And it's not like we were on massive salaries, but it helped reduce the overall tax because everyone used their personal allowance. Personal allowance just means how much you can earn each year before you pay any income tax, which is currently £12,570 a year. Now, this doesn't apply to just restaurants. If your property is in a limited company, you can do the same thing. You can pay your partner or even your kids a small salary for helping with the business, and as long as it's within their personal allowance, it's tax-free. So how can you start doing this for your property company? First thing, your property needs to be in a limited company. Then you register as an employer with HMRC and add your partner or child to the payroll, but only if they're genuinely helping in the business. Set their salary within the personal allowance of £12,570, so it's tax-free, but keep an eye on national insurance if you go above £9,000. Or To make things easy for you, just get an accountant to do it. So if a family member can help with your property business, don't waste that tax break. Speak to your accountant and see if you can use it to pay less tax. Now, this next one is the most important strategy because out of everything we've talked about so far, this is the one that can save you the most tax. So in my business, where we help people invest hands-free, so many investors tell us on consultation calls, I want to get into property, but is it even worth it with all the taxes? And I get it. If you buy in your own name and you're a higher rate taxpayer, 40% of your profit goes straight to HMRC. That's enough to put people off. Most new investors don't realize there's another option. Yes, it comes with extra admin and costs, but for serious investors, it can make a huge difference. Let me show you why. Let's say you buy a property that makes £10,000 profit in a year after mortgage interest. That's just the bank's charge for lending you the money. Here's the difference depending on how you own it. So same property, same rent, but in your own name you keep £6,000 and in a company you keep £8,000. That's £2,000 more saved every year just because of how you bought the property. And that's why for most of our investors, we advise setting up a limited company, not just because you save more money, but it also gives you a better chance of buying your next property quicker. But how do you decide what's right for you? The general rule of thumb is if you're earning over £50,000 a year and you want to own 3 or more houses, it's usually worth buying through a limited company. But if you earn less and you just want to buy 1 or 2 properties, buying in your own name might actually work out better. There's no one size fits all answer. It depends on your income, your goals, and how fast you want to grow. Before your next property, ask yourself, do you want to keep more profit and grow? If yes, speak to an accountant about a limited company. It could save you thousands of pounds a year. So now you know how to cut your tax bill. But if you want to actually grow your portfolio, there are 5 proven ways to do it faster. And that's what I'll show you in this video. So I'll see you over there.